Hey.
Okay, so we are officially here. I wanted to just introduce you to our first ever guests for our bonus material. So this is all about balancing and how to balance work and life and amidst the chaos. And you are looking here at Aaron Sousley and Ryan Sousley. And I will let the two of them kind of introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their lives and sort of what they're balancing and what they have going on. And so I will just kind of give you the floor, guys.
Right. Well, I am Erin, and Ryan and I have been married for 10 years.
I was at that wedding, by the way.
Yes, you were. I remember dancing with you.
That's why we're still married.
That's right.
Right.
All these years. We have 2 kids, one on the way.
Show them the bump. Let's see the bump.
I can get it.
It's actually happening. Look at that. Yeah.
All right. There's at least one in there.
Yeah.
We're both chiropractors. We went to chiropractic school together right after we got married. We've lived in 4 states together. We started our chiropractic health center in 2012, so enjoyed all the fun that goes along with starting a business, let alone doing that with your spouse, bringing kids into the world in the midst of all of that, and paying off debt. So is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're just cranking it out, trying to make it all work. We don't have stuff super figured out, but I think we've done a decent job. We're still together, and we've got a thriving business and that we love that are, not super crazy. But yeah, we're just honored to be with you today.
Yeah.
Cool. So with the two of you, what else do you have going on in your life? I know that when we think of work-life balance, we're thinking about sort of like life being our relationships and our kids and then work. But what else do you have going on that you're balancing? What are your other passions that you guys are spending time doing?
Why don't you take that one?
I got a few of them. So we, both of us are college athletes, and we've always been super active, but at some point you kind of stop competing. And in order to not let that piece of me die, I got into triathlon a few years ago. So for the last 3 years, I've been into Ironman triathlon. So that's something that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of time. But I've found a way to not train as much, not as much as like the typical person that does a lot of that stuff. But that's one more thing to balance. So I do triathlon. We're pretty involved with our church. So I'm on the financial advisory or financial stewardship committee at our church. We've led small groups kind of off and on for the last several years. We do a lot of speaking, a lot of community outreach, a lot of fundraising, a lot of stuff in our community.
Yeah.
What else do we do?
Yeah. So I've got 2 kids who are 5 and 2. So we've been blessed for me to be able to make them a priority and I'm working about part-time. So really thankful because Ryan and I are on the same page with that, and I can be home more. He can take a lot of that burden at the business. And then we try to really support him and his passion for the triathlons, because that is a big investment with his time and finances. So initially it was a big change for us, with the time commitment that's involved there, but we found a way to really embrace it and just look at it as something that brings him a lot of joy.
I've actually seen pictures of you guys going for long bike rides and then towing the kids behind. So you get the whole family out there and going for runs on like anniversaries. I stalk a little bit on Facebook. So these guys are in Coeur d'Alene and I'm in Salt Lake City, and we went to college together. So they're buddies of mine. I knew each of them separately and together. And so it's been really fun to keep up with all of what you guys have going on.
Yeah.
So what about friends and family? What role do they play in your lives?
Yeah. So because we live in a town away from our family, I mean, we don't have any family that lives here. We've got to be really intentional, but it's almost a good thing, because I feel like if you live in the same town with your family, there may be a feeling of obligation, or you just, you kind of end up spending a lot of time with family that you don't necessarily find to be productive. But eventually we would like to end up in a situation where a family is close by. But because we're not right now, we're really intentional with taking trips or having family up. And then when we're with them, we can be really intentional with the time that we do have, so like weekend with grandma and grandpa or mom and dad is very, very productive. As far as friends go, we don't have, I would say, a lot of friends, but the friends we do have are pretty deep relationships. Yeah. And I think for us, at least for me, one of the hard things is, finding like-minded people, because not everybody's an entrepreneur, not everybody's into Ironman triathlon, not everybody's into, the things that we're into. And that's, that may sound like kind of like we're like just exclusive people or something, which is not what I'm saying at all. It's just, you end up, the old saying is that you're an accumulation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Yep.
So to find people in a smaller town that can relate to all the things that we're going through with owning a business and working together and having the pressure that kind of thing. We got a handful of friends that we're really, really tight with, but we don't spend a whole lot of time, socializing on.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that we've really identified the people that bring us the most value, I would say, and not that we're trying to be exclusive again, but really people that are for us, for our marriage, for our and they're identified the people that maybe are bringing us some strife. And not that we're cutting them out of our lives, but we just want to be aligning ourselves with people who are going to be encouraging us and who know our dreams and our goals and can stand behind us.
Nice.
That's been kind of a pruning process. And, we definitely still pour into the people that we've known for years and years. But in terms of who we really want to spend our time with, it's that core group of people.
Yeah, and I would even say, one of the best things we ever chose to do was to learn how to say no. Because we were getting asked to do a bunch of stuff for our church, and then the opportunities are endless in our profession. Like we're part of an organization that deals a lot with chiropractic students and seminars, and so we get asked to do things all the time. And it's great for the ego, but at the same time, your ego gets pumped up, and then you end up hating your life because you're just pulled in a million different directions. So about a year ago, we had a conversation and we decided, what, we're going to stop doing this. We're going to stop doing that. We're going to stop doing that. And our lives became way more simple. Even though we still have all these things going on, we weren't doing things that didn't bring us a ton of joy and a ton of value. And then the other thing, as far as the time that we do spend with people, I've always kind of operated on the 33% rule, which I stole from someone who's wiser than me. I just can't remember who it was.
Now it's going to be Ryan Sousley officially.
Yeah, I'll take it over from here. But so the 33% rule is when it comes to time management, and socializing, 33% of your time spent with, someone that you're pouring into. So you're kind of like a mentor to them. And the other third is, someone who's kind of on your level, someone you can relate with and, vent to and go through life with. And then the other third, or 33%, is someone who's pouring into you, so that would be someone that's like kind of above you or ahead of you in life. And I've found a lot more fulfillment and joy doing that because, if all you're ever doing is pouring out, then you end up empty. And then if all you do is suck off everybody else, because you're just chasing after mentor after mentor, and then you end up overflowing, but you're not really giving anything back. So I've found a good balance in that.
I like this. We call these pro tips. So we're going to chalk that one up to a pro tip, the 33% rule. So let's talk a little bit about, for couples that are watching this, as far as balance in your relationship goes. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys have balanced your relationship among all the other things that you have going on, and how you make your relationship a priority, and how you've made that happen?
Yeah, so this has been a work in progress over the last decade, but The thing that's really helped us is setting a vision for the year. And then we'll do that like January, December, we started setting a vision for the year. What do we want our life to look like, including our marriage, our personal lives, our business life, sitting down and really like doing a vision casting workshop together.
Nice.
Our kids aren't there and we just have time. And, I think we even went away this past winter to a cabin where there was no cell service or internet or anything, and just kind of got away and got to do that. But we'll also project for 5 years and 10 years, and we'll set goals. How are we gonna get there? How is our relationship gonna look like that? What do we need to get out? What do we need to add? And that's really cool. And what part of that for the year to come was setting vacations or setting family weekend getaways, even if it was like a staycation, putting that on the calendar, just because our business takes up so much time, even on the weekends, going to seminars and things like that. I know you can relate, but so as long as we knew we had something to look forward to that was already planned and on the calendar, that's been really helpful for us.
That's really cool. It's interesting. I have had long distance couples that have tried to figure out, how do we make this long distance relationship work? And my husband and I actually lived a long distance relationship for, I want to say like 8 years of our life. He traveled about 80% of the time. And one of the tips that I had for couples that I had figured out was that every time you are getting ready to leave that person, you always make sure you have the next thing on the calendar, so that you're making it something you can look forward to and you're prioritizing it. Because I truly believe that unless it goes on the calendar, it doesn't get done. Everything else will take priority over it. So I love that you guys are doing that with each other, and you're having like these, I don't know, you're like going to Camp David, planning it out. Super cool.
That's right.
Nice. Okay. Any tips or tricks that you might have for couples to be able to stay connected on a daily basis? Anything? I know I'm kind of throwing some questions out at you, but anything that you guys do on a daily basis to feel connected?
This is definitely a work in progress for us.
Yeah, our life cycle is more on like a weekly basis.
Okay.
We have so many things going on. Like a Monday looks totally different than a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Different than because we do speaking events or workshops in our office. So sometimes I'll be at the office till 8 or 9 at night.
Yeah.
And days I don't even go in until 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's harder for us to get into a daily rhythm, but I feel like we've done a pretty good job of getting into a weekly rhythm where at some point in the week, XYZ happens, and it's not always on the same day at the same time, but, really like to go back to what Aaron was talking about, once a year we get away, we kind of do some vision casting for our life, but we also try to do that on a quarterly, monthly, and even sometimes a weekly basis if we feel like we're off track, but we typically like go for a drive after church, or we'll go on a bike ride, or we'll do something, put the girls down for a nap and then just sit on the deck with a glass of wine or something and say, okay, in a perfect world, what does your life look like? Like given our current circumstance, obviously you can't say we live in the Bahamas with margaritas. But given our current circumstance, what does your perfect life look like? Like what time do you wake up? What do you do with your day? Everything. What's our relationship look like? How much money do we have? Where are we going on vacation? And really just draw it up and you get what you focus on. And so I would say probably the most profound thing that I've learned over the last 10 years, and it pertains to marriage, but it also pertains to personal success, is defining success, which sounds really cliche. Like everybody's always heard that, like, well, what does success mean to you?
It must be a title of a book somewhere.
I think it's the title of like 1,000 books. The difference is I'm finally like getting it. That's the difference. But so like one thing that Aaron and I do is we talk about it, and this is kind of like our dream book, and we literally like write all this stuff down. And so what is your fitness look like? What do our finances look like? What do our vacations look like? What's our involvement in our church or our community look like? Because if you don't know what you want, like you're never going to get it.
Right.
And most people, because this is something we do with patients too in our office, is we say, if you could have everything you wanted in life, could you even write that down? Do you even know what that is? Most people don't, because they just assume they're never going to get it anyway. So why even think about it?
Yeah.
So I think if you have a starting point, or you have a vision in mind with where you want to go, it's amazing how the universe just kind of unfolds with opportunities. And it doesn't mean you just sit around and wait for it to happen. Like, you got to go get it.
Right.
But I think that would be step number one. And one of the most powerful things that people could do is to sit down and say, what do we want out of life? What do we want our lives to represent? What kind of experiences do we want to have and give our kids? And then go towards that.
And how often are you doing this? How often are you sitting down with a glass of wine and talking about your dreams and actually putting pen to paper? Is this something that you're revisiting on a regular basis?
It's quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend a lot of time doing it, like a lot of hours in a row, maybe once a year. But I'd say at least once a month, and sometimes more. I mean, if we feel like we're really off track, like one of us will bring it up and say, hey, you seem a little off. Like, why is that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
where are your dreams and your life not connecting? Because that would be the next step, is once you establish what your dreams are, what your vision for your life is, then you have to step back and look at, does your life match your dreams? Because if what you're doing on a daily basis doesn't match with what your life should look like or what you want it to look like, then obviously you're going to have friction, and you're going to be unhappy. And so if we ever catch ourselves unhappy or notice that there's a lot of friction in our relationship, we'll go, that's a red flag. Like, somehow our daily pursuits are not matching our vision. So either we need to change our vision, or we need to change our daily pursuit or our activities. Something's got to give. Otherwise we're going to keep, having this issue.
And we do try to be proactive about that. It's always been a goal for us to have one date night a week, kids with a sitter. Yes, things come up when you own a business, and that you have to stay late, and by the time you get done, the sitter isn't available.
Yeah.
So we roll with it, but we definitely have made changes. We've canceled trips to seminars when we identify that our marriage is not where we want it to be. We'll throw away that $3,000 that we already booked on plane tickets and hotels if we know that we need that time for each other. So we know the priority is here. If the kids are seeming like they're becoming the top priority, we'll quickly rectify that. And we have conversations with them that, no, mommy and daddy are going out on the porch. You guys are watching this movie for 30 minutes. And they may cry, but, at least they're getting an understanding of where our allegiance lies. And if mom and daddy aren't well, then nothing is well. So, lately we've had a lot of things thrown at us in the business side of things where we've just had to roll with it. And we do the best we can. And we feel like we're kind of in that season, kind of adapting to constantly changing environments.
Yeah.
Speaking of adapting.
So, you brought up something that's kind of interesting. If you have this book of goals and dreams that you are constantly identifying, how do you prioritize? How do you go through and identify, okay, so this is what we're focusing on right now? Or, if it's all about talking about balance, then balance to me means having things kind of fit in their categories and knowing how much energy you're going to put towards each one. How do you guys prioritize what you're going to focus on?
That's good.
Well, I think number one, the concept of balance is kind of a myth. There's no such thing as balance if you want to be, ultra successful and really, be a world changer. But in terms of like prioritizing and accomplishing all of it, what we've found is, and again, this is something that I stole from a book or, a seminar along the way, but there's something out there called a life wheel. And literally it just looks like a wheel, and there's categories all around it. And there's all the different categories like marriage, finances, professional, fitness, social, spiritual. And so we don't necessarily do this regularly anymore, just because I feel like now we have a really good sense of where we're at. But for a while, we would each fill out this life wheel, and then you basically, you grade yourself on each category. Like, oh, I'm only a 6 out of 10, spiritually, and then I'm a 9 out of 10 professionally, or whatever. And then you identify the lowest ones. But I think to answer your question, Laura, I think if you can pursue all of it at the same time, kind of just my personality, but I found that if I neglect everything else and then I just go after one thing, actually something else takes a hit, and then I'm right back to square one. It's just I'm going the other direction, and I'm like this pendulum.
Yeah.
So I think something that we've gotten pretty good at, although we're still trying to figure it out, is trying to realistically look at every category and say, okay, how do we achieve 10 out of 10 in every category realistically at this moment? What does tomorrow look like if everything's a 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
Within our current circumstances.
So, and Ryan and I have been using something called a WAR plan.
WAR, WAR.
Yes, it's like a weekly schedule. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. And we look at the things that we want to accomplish throughout the week. Ryan is like the master of this. I'm more like free.
I believe it. Got a type A over here.
Yeah. And when you have kids, your schedule can fluctuate. But so we would just prioritize those things that he's talking about. What are the main focuses in those different areas that I want to accomplish this week? For him, he has to get his certain swim distance in, or his run, or his bike. We also want individual dates with our daughters. So it's great. You can say that you want that, when you're casting your vision or your dream, but if you don't actually put it on your schedule, like you said, it probably isn't going to happen. So that's something that's really helped us. And then we call those, those boxes on the Excel spreadsheet, solid yellow lines. So nothing's going to come in between, a date with our daughter, that he'll take our daughter to coffee or tea, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or date night. We usually try to protect that as best as we can, unless something comes up at the office that's just not, and that rarely happens where we would have to change that. But we just make sure, like we said before, it's on the calendar, and that's how we kind of balance those different areas.
So, two things. One, like mind explosion, this solid yellow line idea. I love that. I love that you're putting some really clear boundaries around the things that you are prioritizing that are really important to you, and being very intentional and clear with each other about what is a solid yellow line, what events are really important to you that you make. The other thing that I was thinking about, and a concept that we talk a lot about in our Marriage in Motion course, is small things often. And when I think about sort of having this wheel with all of the things that have competing priorities, and if you are taking time to make a small effort in every single category, it doesn't have to be a major leap, or you don't have to hyper focus on one in order to move and progress it forward. But if you do small things often in each of the categories, everything will continue moving forward, closer and closer toward the dream that you're hoping to seek to achieve. So I'm just, as you're talking, my brain is literally just exploding. I'm like, want to take notes.
Well, and so I like to be super, super practical with all this stuff. So like what we do is, using an Excel spreadsheet is a little bit antiquated. So we use Google Calendar. Everyone knows what Google Calendar is, and it syncs with every device that you have.
Yep.
So and the cool thing about Google Calendar is you can set events to recur. So it's not like you have to brand new schedule every single week.
Yeah.
You can categorize everything. So like we have a calendar that's or a category for the office, and then a category for fitness, and then a category for family, and then a category for what else is there? Like birthdays, and I mean just different things, trips or events or speaking things. And so like we put everything in there, and I do mine on Sunday evenings typically. And the cool thing about Google Calendar is you can invite whoever you want to join your calendar. So like Erin has access to my calendar. So that way, like when I have something coming up, like we both get a text message saying, hey, you've got this coming up in 15 minutes or next week or whatever.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, like I said before, you've got this vision for your life, and then you've got what you actually do, which a lot of times are two different things. That's why people are frustrated, because they're not where they want to be. But at any given moment, Erin or any one of my, mentors or colleagues can look at my calendar and go, does your daily life match up with your vision for your life? And if it doesn't, then obviously you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
looking at that calendar and those categories is also another way for us to look at, man, every half hour is accounted for this week, but where am I in that? Or where are the girls, or where's your fitness, or
We'll call each other out for sure.
whatever part of the deal,
Right.
you want to work on, there better be some time in your count. Like another great quote that I read at some point somewhere, said, if someone were to follow you around all day long for 2 weeks, would your life represent the person that you're trying to become?
Yep.
It's like pastors always say, show me your checkbook and I'll show you your values type of thing.
Yes. Yep. I was just getting ready to say that. Darn.
But anyway, just to be practical, that's something that's that's revolutionized, our productivity. It's a great productivity tool. But even more than that, it just creates checks and balances.
That's right.
So, and we look at it, like I look at mine every day, like what's next? Like you said, if it's not on there, it doesn't get done.
Yeah. So, you guys have this, you're making it sound like you two are incredibly busy, and in order to stay on top of things and to have balance and to be chasing your dreams, you have to be very organized. But what I want to know is, what do you guys do? First of all, how do you recognize when you're burned out or you're heading in that direction? And what do you do to bring a little bit of peace back to your life? Are you burned out right now? Can I ask you that?
I'm burned out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was burned out last night. I was. That's when I sat down with more than one glass of wine.
Well, I'm jealous. You had one.
I did.
Life will, if you're not being proactive, and I'm sure, you teach this all the time, and just to be proactive and have a plan so that you don't get to that point. But, we had 3 different big things come at me, and I handle a lot of this side of the business where I'm having to, deal with different agencies, and I'm handling it all by myself on top of what I perceive as a lot of other things that come along with home life.
Yeah.
And so I think that can definitely create a rift, and we identified it as a rift pretty quickly. But in terms of remedying it, I think that's definitely where having some outside counsel is helpful. How do we navigate through this together as a couple?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that we're in the process of right now. It's just a season, and hopefully will be a short season, and making sure that we get people on our team that, can help us handle a lot of these different items. But what would you say?
Well, and I can answer that question for both of us a lot more simply, just because part of my job is to manage the energy of the household, just like it is in the office.
Okay.
And so I can remember the name of this book. This one's called The Energy Bus. It's a really quick read. You can read it in like 15 minutes doing my speed reading thing.
Uh-huh.
But I'll give you the gold from the book, then you won't even have to go buy it. So the Energy Bus, the best thing about that book was the exercise was, for 2 weeks, you walk around with, a pad or a pen, pad or, notes on your phone or whatever, and you make 2 columns, and every activity that you do throughout your day, you're putting it in one column or the other. One column is things that give you energy. The other column is things that take away energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can fill your life with only things that give you energy, because there's going to be crap that comes up that you have to deal with that sucks your energy and you don't like it, but it's just part of life, whether it's screaming kids or an IRS audit or whatever, there's going to be things. But to answer your question about burnout is to identify in your life the things that give you energy. And a lot of, like for me, up until a couple of years ago when I read this book, I didn't even really, I wasn't totally aware of all the things that gave me energy. And I figured out, man, a lot of what I do during the day, I do because I feel like there's an obligation, or it's just who I'm supposed to be or whatever. But they were things that actually took energy away from my state. So once I figured out what gives me energy, and then I was able to double down on those things and try to delegate or outsource as much of that negative stuff as I could, man, my life got so much better. And I've been able to identify in Erin that when she gets burned out, what gives her energy is vacation. So like if we can get away, if we can go somewhere quiet and just sit there and do nothing and just reflect and, enjoy nature or whatever the case is, whether it's the beach or the mountains. You know, that's what she needs when she's burned out. What I need when I'm burned out is something like, you know, I'll sign up for a race or something where I can just beat my body into submission. And then but for me, like sitting around would be like, that would drive me nuts, because then I would just be tormented by my demons. But when I can, like, you know, get out and do something. So like, you know, like she talked about, our office has gone through some trials, you know, in the midst of having our most successful year ever. We've also been hit with a bunch of stuff that have caused us to grow and learn a bunch.
That's a really nice way to put it. Growth and learning.
Trial by fire.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in the midst of all that, you know, I decided, well, I'm going to take up bow hunting this year, you know, because it's a new skill to learn. And for me, like if I find myself being burned out, it's because I'm putting too much focus on one thing and I'm trying to control it. And my mind's only focused on that one thing. I personally found that if I can do something totally unrelated, get my mind off of it, either learn something new or a new activity or a new experience or a trip or something like that, for me, like I can come back and have a totally different perspective. And then it's a lot easier to go through the crap, you know, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, these are just like nuggets, golden nuggets. I love them. That's really cool. I wanted to just go through, because I did have a couple of things that I asked if there was anything, I think we probably touched on it. And I guess I had asked if there are 2 favorite resources that you would recommend to folks. You've already mentioned that really great book, which I like the idea of just putting 2 columns. But what was the name of that book one more time, Ryan, in case people want to take a look at it?
Oh, The Energy Bus.
Bus, B-U-S or B-U-S-T?
No, B-U-S.
Bus, the energy bus, like hopping on the big yellow bus. Okay. Cool. And then 2 other resources. You wrote Love and Respect, which is a book that has been, I mean, that's like goes right up there with the 7 principles of making marriage work. Love and Respect is a really popular one as well. And then Captivating and Wild at Heart, which were both books I'm sure you probably read in college, because those were going around like candy.
Yeah. So we read them in college. And then when we got married, we had this amazing advice that we should read the other. So I would read Wild at Heart. He would read Captivating, so that we better understand, you know, a man heart. Because I grew up with a sister. There was not a lot of guys in my family. So I didn't really know what to do when I got married, and I didn't understand his passions and his desires. And that really helped. And then equally, he didn't have any sisters growing up. So for him to read Captivating really helped him to understand the heart of a woman and what I might need.
And now you can help out your 2 daughters now that you know their hearts as well, their future hearts. That's really cool. Anything else before I sign off that you want to just, as we've been talking, you're like, you know what, I wanted to mention that one thing, anything that has to do with balance or how to manage the chaos?
Well, I would just say that probably the number one thing that I've learned, and this is like in terms of what I need, but it's also in terms of what she needs. This is the one thing that when we get this right, like we can prevail through anything. And when we get it wrong, even if we're having all of this worldly success, we still hate our lives. And that would be that when we're each other's biggest cheerleader and each other's biggest fan, like when I feel like Aaron has my back no matter what, like I want to do a triathlon and Aaron's like, you can do it, you're Superman. Let's take a trip to Puerto Rico so you can do your first half Ironman. We'll make it a family vacation. We're going to support you. And then they're on the, and same thing with her. Like, I know that if she feels like I have her back and I'm going to root for her and support her and protect her and be her biggest fan. Like when we have that clicking, man, it's like nothing can touch us. It's like we're unstoppable regardless of what's going on in our lives. But then the opposite is also true. Like we'll have months where we have humongous collections months from our business and everything's going great. But man, we're just like at each other's throats. And I feel like you're my worst enemy and I'm yours. And it's like, we just want to give all this stuff away. It's not even worth it.
Right.
Even though on paper, it's like, you guys are like, you're doing so well. So for me, that's probably like, that would be the glue
Yeah.
that makes all this stuff work.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love it. I actually was just talking a little bit about, it was like this little nugget of advice that I gave on Fox 13. And it really speaks to what you're just talking about, which is saying yes to your partner. That there are so many wishes, wants, desires, dreams that we come to our partner with. And if your partner has this dream of, you know what, I'm feeling so burned out, can we just take a vacation? Can we just pack up and leave this weekend and let's just go to the closest little resort town and just spend the weekend there? And my hope for every couple is that your knee-jerk reaction to any wish, want, or desire that your partner has is to say yes, to just say yes to your partner. Find reasons why it won't work out, that you have a business meeting or you can't leave town or you have to find care for the animals or whatever it might be. Find reasons why it won't work later, but allow yourself to want to support your partner's wants, desires, and wishes immediately and then follow through. And so I love that. I love that piece of advice. I guess kind of on that, maybe we should just put a stake in it and done.
Done.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. You have more information than I ever expected. And I think that I don't want to put any more on your plate, but I could easily have you back on as experts in other arenas. And just, yeah, you guys are pretty fantastic. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom with the couples that we're working with.
Happy to do it.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye, guys.